Winter 1944 turned Europe into a wasteland of ice and silence. Roads cracked beneath frozen mud, engines coughed in the cold, and breath hung like smoke around exhausted soldiers. For the men of the American Tank Destroyer Command, the season brought their hardest test yet, the Ardennes Offensive. The world would remember it as the Battle of the Bulge, a desperate counterattack in which the Wehrmacht hurled its remaining strength through Belgium in a final gamble to split the Allied front. Among the columns that raced to intercept them were the M18 Hellcats, now veterans of the French campaign, their hulls scarred and their crews tempered by months of combat. The first warning came in December, when German Panzer spearheads smashed into American lines under cover of snow and fog. Panthers and Tigers led the way, their engines echoing through pine forests like drums of iron. The Hellcats moved to meet them, slipping along back roads that had become rivers of ice. Their radial engines roared against the cold, the exhaust turning white in the morning frost. Visibility was measured in yards. Engagements happened at pistol range, ambushes in white silence where seconds decided life or death. Near Bastogne, elements of the 705th Tank Destroyer Battalion dug into the woods alongside the 101st Airborne. Outnumbered and outgunned, the Hellcats waited, camouflaged under branches and snow. When the first German armor broke through the trees, the Americans fired point blank, the recoil rocking their light frames. Panthers erupted into flame, and then came the inevitable reply, shells shrieking through the forest, splintering trunks like matchsticks. For every Hellcat destroyed, another repositioned, slipping through the woods to strike again. The cold bit through gloves, radios froze, oil turned sluggish, yet the rhythm never stopped. Fire, move, vanish. Across the Ardennes, the pattern repeated. In Clervaux, Noville, and St. Vith, small groups of Hellcats harassed advancing panzer columns, buying precious hours for infantry and artillery to regroup. The Germans found themselves fighting ghosts, machines that appeared, struck, and disappeared before counterfire could find them. Even when fuel shortages slowed the American response, the Hellcats' efficiency turned scarcity into an advantage. It could cover ground quickly, strike from unexpected angles, and retreat before being surrounded. By Christmas, the tide had turned. The panzer thrust had stalled, and with it, Germany's last hope of reversing the war in the West. When the snow finally melted in spring 1945, the Allied armies surged forward. The Rhine crossings at Remagen and Oppenheim opened the path into Germany itself. Hellcats led reconnaissance and pursuit operations, chasing remnants of shattered panzer divisions across the Rhineland. There was little left of the once fearsome German armored corps, machines starved of fuel, crews barely trained, commanders exhausted. Yet even in its twilight, the German army could still bite. Near Fulda and Kassel, scattered Tiger IIs made desperate stands, their monstrous guns capable of tearing through any Allied vehicle. The Hellcats faced them as they always had, not head-on but from the edges. They circled, flanked, and struck from the blind side. Against one Tiger II destroyed, perhaps two Hellcats were lost, but the principle held, motion defeated might. Each engagement carried a strange melancholy. The crews knew the war was ending. Towns surrendered before shots were fired. Columns of refugees filled the roads, and the thunder of artillery faded into the distance. For many Hellcat battalions, the final missions were not hunts, but pursuits, chasing shadows of an army that no longer believed in victory. Yet discipline remained. Engines were kept warm, guns loaded, formations tight. The men had learned that complacency killed faster than any shell. You never relaxed in a Hellcat, one gunner recalled. You just eased off the throttle until someone called for more. In Italy, the story was the same but steeper, fought through mountain passes and valleys that punished every mechanical flaw. The 805th and 894th Battalions supported the Fifth Army's climb toward the Po Valley, darting along narrow roads where Shermans could barely fit. Their speed made them invaluable scouts. They cut off convoys, ambushed retreating convoys of German and Italian units, and forced surrenders simply by appearing faster than expected. By April 1945, with Mussolini dead and German forces collapsing, the Hellcats roamed freely through northern Italy. their engines echoing off ruined cathedrals and vineyards blackened by fire. When the ceasefire came, many crews found themselves adrift in silence. The adrenaline that had carried them for years drained away, leaving only the hum of cooling engines. Some dismounted and touched the armor that had carried them through Europe. Thin, scarred, miraculous. The Hellcat had never been meant to survive a direct hit, yet thousands had returned from battles that should have destroyed them. Mechanics wept as they shut down the engines one last time. In field depots and airstrips turned motor pools, rows of M18s stood idle. Their turrets turned toward the horizon as if waiting for an enemy that would never come. By war's end, the Hellcat's record spoke for itself. It had destroyed hundreds of enemy tanks, traveled farther and faster than any other armored vehicle of its era, and served in every major European campaign. Yet its true legacy lay in what it taught. It proved that mobility could outthink firepower, that precision could outweigh protection, and that industrial speed could reshape a battlefield as surely as any bomb. In an age obsessed with armor, it reminded generals that the future would belong to movement. The soldiers who rode those machines went home different men, young, exhausted, and marked by a truth few could understand. They had fought not behind walls of steel, but inside them, trusting speed more than shelter. In the years to come, many would hear the roar of a passing engine and feel the ghost of that machine again. The sound of the Hellcat, the hunter that turned war into motion.